Hello, welcome to Recovery Live. I'm filling in for Tom today. I'm usually the quote unquote wizard behind the screen, but today I am in front of the screen and still controlling everything behind the screen. So I'm excited for today. We have an interesting panel. It's our quote unquote normie episode with Sue, BJ, and Robin. And we're going to talk a little bit about Al Anon, CODA, Came to Believe Recovery, and how our meetings and our retreats can work for the family as well as the person struggling with the addiction. So it should be a fun episode. If you have questions, comments, as always, feel free to put them in the chat. I see we have Jamie from Wisconsin joining us. Good to see you. We got Dale Barker on. At least he's saying something good today. Normies are awesome. Thank you, Dale. I appreciate that. Before we get started, as always, we'll go through some stuff we have coming up. We have our upcoming retreats. We have registration open for our Northern California retreat in May. Prescott, Arizona will be open very soon, and that'll be coming up this July. Then we have Schoolies Mountain in October in New Jersey. And lastly, we have Leesburg coming up in November. We're excited to be back down in Leesburg this year and excited to have a big group of people joining us. Another exciting thing that we are really happy about is we are joining forces with Sober St. Patrick's Day in New York City this year. So Came to Believe Recovery will be there volunteering with the team from Sober St. Patrick's Day in New York. We will be giving out literature. They'll have Irish soda bread, tea, coffee, Irish bands, Irish dancers, and we get to march in the parade. After the parade, we all go back and there's a fun party with refreshments, live entertainment, and things like that. And here's the best part. Came to Believe Recovery is hosting the open meeting at 7:30 afterwards. So Tom is actually going to be facilitating that meeting at 7:30 after the Sober St. Patrick's Day party. So you can find all the information. We posted it on our Facebook page, but you can also go to soberstpatricksday.org, which I will put in the chat for you all to see, and purchase tickets. And tickets are only needed for that 5 to 7 after party. Everything else is free. The meeting is free. So spread the word and come check it out. It's going to be a really fun day. We're excited for it. So without further ado, I would love to welcome my lovely panel on this week. We have Sue Foreman, who's joining us from Florida. Hello, Sue.
Hello.
We have BJ also joining us from Florida today. And then we have Robin Z joining us from California. And as most of you know, I am in New Jersey. So Tom left. I think he's in Florida with you, Sue, maybe.
Somewhere.
So I got New Jersey covered for him this weekend. So welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming on this week. I think we're going to have a really great conversation about what's going on. Oh, Jamie, thank you. I see you posted something. Since Tom's absent and I have the run of the show, I'm doing a giveaway today. So if you want to enter to win a t-shirt, go ahead and enter #recovered in the chat and you will be entered, and we'll do the drawing a little bit later. So you can see Jamie West. Somehow you knew that I was doing this because we haven't been doing it in the past, but now we're here and we're doing it. So enter, and we'll see who wins. All right. Looks like we might have lost Robin's picture. So I'm just going to pull her out. And when she rejoins us, yep, we lost her. So I'll pull her back in when she comes back in. So let's start with you guys. What can you tell me a little bit about your experience of having a family member that's, working with addiction, either in recovery or has been recovered? Sue, do you want to start a little bit on that?
What's it like to have a family member? Or what's it like to be coming from a family with members?
Mm-hmm.
What's it like to be partners with people who have the ability to regulate their bodies using various other things besides what we can use? And what it's like to give birth to, I believe is how Robin said that. She said we came from them, we married them, and we gave birth to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to say, just maybe 4 years ago, I heard a a doctor who's been working in this field of health for many, many years. He was in his 80s. He said something that in all my 48 years of being in this recovery world, I had never heard. And it was that some people of our species are able to use chemicals to regulate their bodies, to regulate their feelings and how just their shakes or how they're thinking, their minds, whatever, to self-regulate. And he said, you can't take that away without putting something else there for them. But some of us, like 80% at least, we can't regulate our bodies either, but we don't have a body that can use these substances. So we come up with other things. So the question is, what is it like? I'm going to say it's one of the best things that ever happened to me. And it was because it was the worst time in my life.
Can you explain that a little bit? Seems like a bit of an opposition.
I think we will. I think it'll be the rest of the program.
Great. Okay. BJ, what would you like to add to that? What's been your experience?
Oh my goodness. I've been immersed with addictive people all my life. And I grew up in an alcoholic family as well as addicted to some hard drugs. And it was devastating. And, you know, I thought at the age of 18, I could run away and join the army and leave all that behind me. But I found that everywhere I went, there it was. And funny thing, my picker was broken because I would always pick the ones that needed recovery, that needed me to help them, to try and straighten them out, right? That's called codependency, by the way, for you normies. By the way, Lisa, you misquoted me, honey. I am not a normie. I may not be physically addicted, but there are emotional things that I'm trying to do.
I think we all have that.
Right?
And so put that in needlepoint, please. What you want. We all have
and absolute. And so, and funny thing, every relationship was either with a person who was just trying to recover or dry, you know, that dry addictive kind of thing going on where they're miserable, but they need me to fix them and help them like I really could, right? And so and they always told me in Al-Anon that usually you will just change the name going from one addictive person to another. And I broke out in an absolutely cold sweat. I just went from one Jack to another Jack. I didn't even bother changing the names this last time. And so I met Jack Rapp, who was obviously, in his words, he was just a heavy drinker, but there was no problem. Thank you very much. No, you know, he could control it, right? But come St. Patty's Day, oh, watch out. And the races were on. But I found that with all my efforts, I could not fix anyone. And I never even looked at myself. I thought I was fine. I never looked at all my problems or my issues. And, you know, my first meeting to Al-Anon went like this. I went in, I sat there like this. And when it came to my turn to talk, I said, look, I just, you know, I don't want to come to this for the rest of my life. Just tell me how to keep him fixed and I'll pay you whatever you want. I'm fine. Just give me in 25 words or less how to keep him permanently fixed. And they said, oh, no, dearie. This is about you and your issues. And I was highly offended. I was really highly offended.
Mhm.
But then I met these happy, huggy people. And initially, they made me sick because life was just, even though there were problems, they were just so warm and welcoming and loving and recovered. Oh my gosh, what a surprise. And so I found that that very same program that they practice helped me as well through the 12 steps and 12 steps of recovery, not only just going through them, but living it.
Living
You
it.
see, that's the secret, isn't it, to recovery, is living 10, 11, and 12. So I've been on the Al-Anon and CODA programs for since 86, and I will not stop. They're my lifeblood, as well as Came to Believe Recovery. And I only wish I had these tools when my brothers were in their addiction, as well as my mother. So that's why I keep coming back to help not only myself, but anyone who is seeking recovery.
I just want
That's
to
my story.
I just want to catch one little thing there that Vincent Felitti said, you can't take something away without adding something. The takeaway from people who are able to use alcohol and drugs is one thing, but what BJ was saying, we use control and focusing on somebody else. So as long as we can worry about fixing them, we don't have to look at what we have to do in order to take away our drug of choice. And our drug of choice is to do everything to keep from looking at ourselves.
Yeah, it's really interesting. BJ, I kind of got thrown into a retreat with you when I first started working with Came to Believe and had that mindset like, this isn't for me. Like, I don't struggle with any addictions, but growing up, addiction was all around me and it still is. I have family members who are struggling with opioid addictions, prescription pills that are quote unquote legal and prescribed, but there's definitely an addiction happening. And as a teenager, it was all around me, and that impacted so much of my life that it chose the career that I ended up in. So, kind of you captured me and made me realize, there is stuff for me to do.
Oh, that should be our new Om.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not quite the same as
Right.
Oh.
It's so true, Sue. I mean, it's that like, oh yeah, hello, wake up. Robin, can you tell us a little bit about your story and
Sure. My approach was a little different. I was attracted. My parents were social drinkers and borderline heavy drinkers, but to this day I wouldn't classify them as alcoholics. But where I was attracted to was the chaos in the alcoholic's life. I didn't want to fix anybody. I'm really good about, hey, you got your issues, go away, deal with them, and then come back. But I was more attracted to the fun aspect. And like BJ said, every guy, as I did some work in my Al-Anon program, I looked back in retrospect and I realized that every male that I had dated or had a serious relationship with were either then soon to be alcoholics or addicts, and were not necessarily at the time I was interested in them. But what I really found is that they had these unique personalities and they were fun. And in Al-Anon, we say, at first it's fun, and then as the relationship continues, then it's fun with problems, and then it's just problems. And that's where I ended up, was the fun with problems and a lot of problems.
You had an unconscious radar that could just zero in whether it was manifest in front of you or not.
If you lined up 100 males against a wall, I would pick out the alcoholic. That would be the one that I would be attracted to.
I think that's
Absolutely.
universal. Let's do a whole show on that phenomenon.
I never realized oh, it's me. So, I had a first marriage, and his drinking was uncontrollable, and I was not able to control it. So I divorced it, thinking, well, that's the end of this issue. And then I met a wonderful man in church, and I thought, okay, and I vowed I will never, ever, ever marry another man who drinks. That's it. I'm done. And I met this wonderful man in church, and on our first date, he tells me he's in recovery from alcoholism, and I thought, it's me. It's my picker. This is what I do. And thank goodness, I made a cameo appearance with my first husband in Al-Anon for several weeks, and then just thought, I didn't understand that it was a long-term program. It was like a forever program.
Mm.
And so when I started dating my current husband, he said, you know what, I strongly suggest if you and I are going to date, you may want to try Al-Anon again. He says, I'm an alcoholic, even though I'm not carrying my bottle of alcohol around anymore, I still have all the characteristics of an alcoholic. And you have the characteristics more than likely of someone who falls in love with alcoholics. And I thought, okay, I'm going to be smart about this. And I jumped in Al-Anon with both feet, and I thank God I did. Because as I was telling the ladies earlier, our children developed addictions and severe addictions. And I was so thankful to be in this program, to know what to do and where to go and how to talk to people with other problems. And Al-Anon is an invaluable tool for life. And just not just I think the ladies would agree with me. It's not just for addictions. It's for everything. I use it in work. I use it in my daily relationships. It's a wonderful, wonderful program.
Robin, you said something, that made me think we might have some people watching that are kind of stuck in that place of, I don't know what to do. I don't know what resources are out there. I'm stuck. I have, this addict over here, and me in the middle, and I don't know where to turn and what to do. So if is Al-Anon an option for someone that's feeling that, and what could they expect to experience when they go? What would that first meeting look like? What would they expect to get out of that?
Well, I think most of us, BJ, you mentioned it. The reason I started Al-Anon was, okay, tell me what to do in my first marriage. Tell me what to do. Just give me the secret silver bullet that will stop my husband from drinking. That's why I'm here. You tell me how I can get him to stop drinking. And so if you go in with that mindset, you're going to kind of be disappointed to find out, oh, this program focuses on me. But wait a minute, I want to talk about the alcoholic, because I wouldn't be here if he wasn't doing what he did. Life would be fine if I didn't marry this alcoholic.
That is so, Robin, say it again.
Yeah.
Say that sentence again. I wouldn't have to be here.
If it wasn't for the alcoholic or the addict.
And so, I would be fine.
I would be fine. Life would be great, right? We'd go back to where I
because then you're going to go pick another one, just like
exactly. And so learning about this program, it just opens up the world to you about, most of us are controllers. We like to help, and particularly, and I don't know if the ladies have children who are alcoholics, but it's much, in my experience, it's easier to have a spouse that is an alcoholic than a child, because the child from birth, we take their hand. Absolutely. And we take care of a child. We nurture a child. We tell them what to do. We instruct them. If they're sick, we take them to a doctor. And as they grow older and they develop an addiction, we still have that same mothering, particularly the females. There must be something I can do for my child. I have to fix him.
Right.
And so we suggest, we beg, we plead, we make appointments for them, we'll get them into recovery. I'll pay for you to go to, and you realize in this program, nothing
Mhm.
happens unless the addict or alcoholic wants help.
Yep.
And learning how to keep my mouth shut has been probably my biggest takeaway in this program.
Number one.
It's one of my
But yet not shoving it down, Robin, being able to take it out mentally and think about it and put it in the right box,
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
And
this
talk
is
to a fellow
ultimately
about
their
it.
decision, right,
Right.
for recovery. But you're there supporting, but not over supporting, not being an enabler. And I find enabling to be, at least in my ball game, has always been my biggest problem.
Mm,
When to step back and let it go, and when to actually reach in and help.
yeah.
Mm.
And it could be a
Yeah.
very fine line.
right.
Very
Yes.
fine line. It's a, yeah.
And it's, you can hardly tell it from the outside. Nobody can tell you that go and do this. That's why nobody says, shall I divorce him or shall I not?
Right.
Nobody in the program would ever
Right.
make that decision for you.
Right.
Ever, 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 or on any decision on what book to buy, let alone something like
Right.
that, because you can't tell by, it's that letting go. You might say something similar, but you show up, you tell your truth. Because what is that thing in the big book? It says, rarely have we seen a person fail who has the ability to tell the truth. That sentence is for all of us.
Hmm.
There are those unfortunates, but we are afraid to tell the truth because somehow we're going to be to blame for something else happening. It's just such screwy thinking. But we show up, we tell our truth, and we don't worry about the outcome. We just have to have faith. That's where the faith part of our program, faith, the total program is faith.
Yes.
But to know that you're fine, you're loved, you're safe. You must speak your truth kindly,
Mhm.
but you can't tell lies. You can't cover up for people. If you don't want to go somewhere, you say, I really don't want to go. I don't want to go. Well, I used to say, on the one big story we had, Steve wanted me to go out to Banff, Canada with him. And I said, at that point, he was in that 2-year program, BJ, that 70. And so I was pretty well educated at that point. And I had accepted the fact that he was addicted to alcohol, and that, even 4 years later, I heard Dr. Vincent Felitti say that word, that he needed to have that, but I didn't know it at the time. I just knew that he needed to drink. So I said, you really need to drink because you're addicted and you'll have a great time, but I don't want to be there to watch.
Mm.
And I didn't say, because you're addicted, because you give my crap. I just, that's the difference. Is that what freedom do I have to say that without angst and without bitterness, because it was just a fact, as opposed to a way to manipulate him.
Mhm.
It was not in order to manipulate him. It's just that I wasn't ready to divorce him yet. He won this trip to Banff. He wanted me to go. I don't want to go. You go and have a wonderful time. You'll have your good time with all those friends, and I just don't want to be there. So it's very hard,
Yeah.
but it's simple.
Yeah, there's a wonderful
It's doable.
thing in
It's doable.
Al-Anon about speaking your truth, but speaking your truth in love. To
Mhm.
add
In love.
on to
Mhm.
Sue, and one of the sayings that we use is, say what you mean and mean what you say, but don't say it mean. So, and that works
Good one.
very well.
Mm.
Right. Part of our detachment, what we call
Mhm.
detachment, which I think
Mhm.
is one of the major tools I learned in Al-Anon that has just been timeless and a constant reminder of what is my issue, what I want to do versus what is going on around me, and to practice that in love for sure. I want to camp on for just a second something Sue mentioned about the big book. You know, in Al-Anon, we have this amazing array of literature. Oh my gosh, it's phenomenal. Our daily readers, as well as our many books and our conferences and our meetings. But what I also found a tremendous source of help is the AA Alcoholics Anonymous book, the big book. And why would I say that? Because it's on page 97, carrying the message to others. It talks about not only carrying the message to the other alcoholic, but to offer, quote, now get this way of living to the family members as well. And why? Because we all get sick together. We need to get well together. And I have found in what we're calling the big book, not only is the main purpose is to show a way of how to stop drinking, but then it goes to the real purpose, which is to fit ourselves to be of maximum service to God and those people about us. And who are the people closest about us,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's within the walls of our home. It's the family. And so for me, I have found, in addition to the Al-Anon literature, my Coda literature, that the big book is essential. I really take a great deal of comfort and learn a great deal about this new way of living.
We do a survey after our retreats. And this past time I got a response that kind of hit me. It was just, we've gotten it in roundabout ways, but this was just clear. It said, attending with my spouse affected my relationship with her more profoundly than anything else in our 22 years of marriage. It just stuck out. It hit me. And it shows you that this program is for families. It's meant to be gone through together because you need to work together to understand how it impacts the other one. And that was just it, that, you know, he felt that. And so it was powerful. And just really, BJ, you're a huge proponent of it's for the family. Like, you're the family cheerleader always. And I read that. I'm like, I need BJ to see this.
Yes.
And it just proved your point so perfectly, so beautifully well, that it really is a family program. So it's something that, you know, me as someone who's in the background doing emails and Facebook, you know, to keep that in mind and to help the families feel comfortable. Because I mean, I've said this before, and I think it's come off the wrong way, but sometimes we feel like the outsider. Like, there's all these programs for the person with the addiction, and then we're just supposed to kind of sit back and be like, go do your thing.
Right.
But when we become involved, it becomes less of this like wall between us, and you're able to talk and heal together.
Absolutely. And that's what I love so much about Came to Believe Recovery. It is all of us. It's the whole unit. It's the whole family. And that we practice our various forms of recovery and going through the 12 steps. It's all for us. Right.
It's very much like it was in the beginning, before the Al-Anon book was absolutely necessary for people who were struggling without a partner and with a partner that wasn't available to them.
Right.
But then to miss that third step of reconstructing the family, reconstituting it, healing it, you know, that's where we go back to, we are all in it together. But I wanted to pick up on the detach with love, the detach. I always have this funny, the whole attachment thing. It's something that happens from infancy, from birth. If you do any early childhood development, you know about this attachment and how important it is. But it's also very important. I've got a duck box out here. And when those geese or ducks, wood ducks, when they hatch out of an egg, they kaboom, they match, they bond immediately onto the first thing they see, which is usually mama or papa duck. And so they get in behind and they stay as close as they can. That's a kind of an attachment that really works when you're young. But when you're older and you're in a place where you have pledged your troth, whatever the troth is, to someone for life, you psychologically, legally become bonded, and it can become a real mental health issue because it's not love. It is attachment. It is not even a left and right shoe. These are entirely different concepts. And to be stuck into thinking you are bonded and merged and have to behave and mirror and be so that you, when you walk in, you feel good. If you got a beautiful woman on your arm, it changes your attitude about yourself. That's a mental health issue.
Yeah.
Because you are perfect by yourself. And I believe there's let there be spaces in your togetherness. You remember that poem? Let there be spaces. These are the spaces that BJ's talking about. You love somebody, but that allows you not to just fall apart at the thought that they are going to be in a different room. That's what you did. But remember when the child would go to anybody, then there was a moment when you couldn't hand them off anymore because they knew they were separated and they thought they were going to die. Well, that's the level of emotional health that we practice as adults when we can't let go of our spouse enough to let them grow and to detach with love, tell the truth, show up, not worry about the outcome. It's so much for the duck. I'm sorry about that.
I didn't know where you were going with that. I heard duck box.
But you got it, right? Was it helpful?
I got it. Great. So, BJ, I know you have kind of moved into CODA. You still use Al-Anon, but you've moved into CODA. What would you say for someone who is just kind of looking at meetings and looking at organizations? What would you say are the major differences between Al-Anon and CODA?
Well, Al-Anon is very specific. It is talking about someone in your realm, whether it be a husband, children, in my case, nieces and other family members that are addicted. And so that addictiveness, of course, is going to affect us. And so the literature and everything is geared around that, and as well as our meetings are as well. I find with with CODA, think of CODA as an umbrella. And under that hangs off these various spindles and things. And one of the branches is Al-Anon, another branch may be AA, another branch might be overeating, for instance, or other emotional issues, for instance. For me, CODA really clarified boundaries, and it also has given me better tools to understand my codependence. It was like a deep dive into that. For me, Al-Anon touched on boundaries, but didn't really go through the depth that I really needed to detach. And so I have found that under that umbrella, you name it, and it can fit under codependence, the codependent meetings. And those tools we use to assist us with any form of life, whether it's overeating, whether it's eating too many green beans, whatever it may be, whatever the ism is, I call it.
Right.
Would fit under CODA.
Interesting. So CODA's for probably everybody that breathes, right?
There you go.
Anybody that wants
We all
it.
have an ism at some level, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
right. I think so.
That was one of the things in doing my research, because I've never gone to an Al-Anon meeting. I probably should have been in Alateen and Al-Anon, but I never did. But it sounds like there's a lot of focus on self-care. Is that an accurate understanding of what I was reading?
Absolutely. And part of the problem, part part of the disease of the Al-Anonic is the fact that we focus on other people to the point that we neglect ourselves. We enmesh ourselves in other people's lives, our addicts' lives, so that they take up more headspace, much more headspace than we should allot to them. So we become involved in them to the point we neglect ourselves. So self-care is highly stressed in Al-Anon meetings. Learning, the halt, if you're hungry, angry, lonely, tired, stop, don't do anything, address what is going on with you before making any moves, because we are so focused. And that's how we know when we're out of our program, is when we're so focused on another individual that we start neglecting ourselves and we don't take care of our own lives. It places the emphasis back on, we have a life to live. It is separate from that of our addict. And we can't stop living just because our addicts are engaging in their behavior, and learning how to give them the dignity of suffering the consequences of their own decisions. And again, we try to soften the fall. We go and pick up after them to the point that we make ourselves sick. So yeah, and mothers, there are many mothers who don't have addicted children that still do that. This just takes it one step higher. Yeah, so self-care is very important.
And giving the other person the dignity, Robin, that is so strong, that to release them and really not honoring their ability to handle it.
Exactly.
One of my favorite illustrations was about the rich woman pulls up in the limousine in front of the Fontainebleau in Miami, and everybody comes out and they're helping her carry the suitcases and everything. And there's this 5-year-old in the back, and the guy gets out and carries him in and puts him in a chair. And these tourists, the high sock tourists, are sitting there watching all this, thinking, "Wow, she's really got it all together." See the child being carried in, and they say, "Oh, it's so sad that the child can't walk." She overheard that and said, "Of course he could walk, but thank God he doesn't have to." That's a scary thought, that of course you can handle this. Of course, in your good time, you will handle this. In the meantime, I love you, but I'm just not going to be in this thing with you.
Right.
But I know you will handle it.
Can be a scary place, though. It can be a very difficult place to, it could almost bring tears to my eyes to watch somebody self-destruct. And that is their choice. Not everyone always comes back from it. But unfortunately, or fortunately, we do have a program that if they'll take some time to just dive into, consider recovery, that now there are so many opportunities, particularly through Came to Believe Recovery, to actually have that word recovered as part of their identification. I am recovered.
It's interesting. It goes back to that whole enabling and that fine line, and do you find that you have a process that you go through if you're still, I know, Robin, you said you're still kind of dealing with some people with an active addiction. Do you find yourself going through a process to say, is this like helping and being supportive, or is this enabling? Like, is there something that you work through?
Yes. Initially, I think I worked more with a sponsor to help me define that. And as the years have passed, it's almost an automatic, instantaneous. Yeah, I can now sense I'm getting on somebody else's side of the street here. I'm in someone else's hula hoop. This really has nothing to do with me. I just want to jump in. And so absolutely. Yeah. And I go right back to that first step again, am I truly powerless? If I am truly powerless,
Mm.
then I've got to let this go and I've got to give it to my God. And it's that faith reliance. This program has
Yeah.
uh, it has made me rely on God more than I ever thought I could or would. In that the people in my lives both almost died of their addiction, and so being a mother of this, it was you it tested the metal of my faith, and it's a simple program, but by God, it is not easy
Right.
when you get in these dire situations where you have truly addicted members whose bottoms are so low you think they're not ever going to hit them. So yeah.
It's heart-wrenching. Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah. And the
I
devastation, the devastation to the families. And I think if you were to ask any of these women if they've had that kind of situation, um, I don't think the alcoholic or the addict can ever understand the depth of the agony
yeah.
that there is to watch, to stand back, and in my case, think my child is going to die. The doctors have told her so. The doctors have told me so, and actually implored me to make her stop drinking.
Yeah, like you could.
One doctor, exactly. And I said, well, you don't know very much about alcoholism. And it is gut wrenching, heart wrenching to watch these friends and relatives go through this and know in your knower through this program that you can do nothing to help them except help them maintain their dignities, keep your boundaries, and allow God to do the work and not me to do the work.
Yeah. Do you find yourself like slipping like Came to Believe recovery flyers here and there just in case they have that moment of like, oh, I do want to get better. Like,
Totally did that.
Yeah,
Mm.
I haven't had the because I just went through Came to Believe a couple of weeks ago, which
Okay.
was a fascinating experience.
I didn't realize that was your first time. Okay.
Yeah, it was my very first time, and I absolutely loved it. I love the fact that you can get through the fourth step in a half an hour. I did 3 first steps in an hour and a half. In Al-Anon, they use a very large book called Path to Recovery. It can take up to a year to do your fourth step. So I was in when I heard my husband, who had gone through the program several times now,
Yeah.
you can do it. Why do you take so long in your fourth step? And I said, I will do anything to get my sponsees through a 4-step in a half an hour.
Yeah.
And I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah. I mean, I hear a lot of people actually compare their addiction or the process to being diagnosed with cancer. So you're diagnosed with cancer and they say, well, we have this option where it's going to take you, you have to come once a week for the next year and you might get through the first part of it.
Right.
Or you can spend 3 days in all intensive and just go through it and fully immerse yourself and then just
Get out.
practice 11 and 12 for the rest of your life.
Yes. Yeah.
And be recovered. It's, someone literally said it felt like that diagnosis had been like lifted from them and they were free to live a normal life again. They didn't
In the
have that
meantime,
onus on them.
exactly.
Or learn how to live a normal life.
Right.
We need to learn how to do it because none of us
Exactly.
knew how.
Right.
I'm not sure I'd use the word normal. Our steps 10, 11, and 12
Mhm.
are really our guideline.
Yeah.
And I find those people that, I really haven't found a normie yet, but when I do, I'll let you know. But I do believe that way of living, because it becomes a way of living,
Yeah.
steps 10, 11, and 12. I used to think too about going through the 12 steps in an afternoon. We used to go through an afternoon. I says, yay, I'll get that done and then go
Right.
back to my old way of living. Well, contraire, that's not the way it works. And it's an easy program, but it takes awareness and This is my path, and this is now what I'm doing,
Step by step. Mhm.
Right.
step by
I
step.
have a story. I'll try to do it in an anonymous manner that I think captures what BJ and Robin said in terms of children, especially. I had an opportunity to be sitting in front of my son after a particular, he was 17 or 18, I guess, 17. And he'd consumed an enormous amount of alcohol. So I was sitting there with all that I had known up to that point, and it was being revealed to me that this young man can consume an enormous amount of alcohol and whatever. I guess it was mostly alcohol. And yet he thought he was fine enough to drive. And he wasn't feeling bad at all. I thought, oh my, he has the liver that and the whole metabolism system that will set him up for the brain changes. He is going to he has the opportunity to be a full-blown alcoholic. And I'm sitting there listening to all this, and the tears are coming down my cheeks, and I'm thinking, wonder what this looks like to him. And I said, well, Doug, oops. I said, you're not going to get any help from me, your mom, because I can't decide if I'm crying because I'm happy for you or sad for you, because you are not going to be able to live a neutral life. You are either going to be killed by a disease, or you're going to be much better than you would have ever been able to be if you didn't have it. And that I kind of left it for that, it's your decision, it's your life, you have to live it. But if you do have whatever genetic combination it is that allows you to regulate your body using this combination of chemicals, that it'll take you down. But if you happen to find out how to do all of that without that, you will have to be a much better man than you would have been if you didn't have that challenge. So that's what I really feel, that ambiguity about the disease. If you have the opportunity to have the disease and the program,
Right,
you've got a double winner. You are solid. If the Al-Anons, we have to do the program, but we don't die generally
right.
if we go off. I mean, we don't have that huge thing to overcome in terms of an addiction. Or maybe we do, because our addiction is so subtle. Nobody puts us in jail for it generally.
Right.
But once you have a respect for the nature of this condition, whether it's an allergy or a combination of 7 different syndromes that
Sure.
would make you able to ignore the spiritual growth, then, you basically die. But then if you say, I am going to do the spiritual growth, I'm going to heal, I'm going to learn all the different ways to fix whatever happened to me. That's one of the book I thought was pretty good. What Happened to You is a kind of a good one. It's
Okay.
What happened to you? So if I can fix all that, then I don't need to regulate using the chemicals. I have all these other spiritual tools, which are 9, 10, 11, and 12.
Right. Right.
That
Yeah,
we
it's
learn.
interesting. It's something, going through, again, kind of pushed into the program. I find myself like adapting the 10, 11, and 12 for myself and just trying to get those things into my daily life, because it is important to look and evaluate your day and say, okay, where did I fall? What do I need to fix? And being self-aware. A lot of it is that self-awareness
Yes.
and
Self-care and awareness.
self-care, right?
Mhm.
So I've come, I think, a long way since BJ first met me. I don't know that I knew the word self-care. I knew it, but I didn't practice it. And I've definitely made it more of a purposeful thing in my life to make sure that I'm including that, because with kids, it's and one that has
Yeah.
some challenges.
Yes.
It's very easy to throw myself in all of her endeavors and her therapies and her education, blah, 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 and just say, I don't have time for me. And that happened.
And living in fear.
Yeah.
That fear,
Yes.
that constant flooding of cortisols and adrenaline that is setting you up for your own disease. So
right.
you
I mean,
absolutely
just to share
must.
a little bit. I mean, I got to the point, it was a little over a year ago, where she woke up in the middle of the night, like coughing. And I found myself shaking so bad that I couldn't hold her. And I said, whoa, like, here I am. Like, I am now unable to take care of her because my physical reaction is so intense. Something needs to change.
That's vivid.
So,
Yeah.
it's, and we got through surgery this week, and I joke with my therapist, and I say, well, I didn't throw up while I was waiting for her, so
That progress.
true.
Yeah,
So
progress.
I've come a long way, but it was something that I really needed, a kick in the pants to realize. But it was,
And I wanted to add and kind of dovetail into what Sue was saying. Fear, guilt, and shame tend to be our main motivations to try to get our family and friends well again. We somehow feel that the children's behavior reflects on us, our husband's behavior reflects on us. There must be something I did in raising my children that allow them to be this way, and learning that we are not the cause of their disease is huge. Overcoming that, particularly I think for mothers and family friends, we tend to take on the blame, the guilt, the fear of our alcoholics and addicts, and we've got enough of it all by ourselves. So then we take theirs on as well. And we need that detachment, that loving detachment.
You're absolutely right.
That was good, Sue, because fear is a hard motivator.
It is. Yeah, I think you hit it. Fear, guilt, and shame. I mean, that really is our roots, if you will, of the behaviors. So yeah. Wow, ladies. Well, we blew through that hour quicker than I imagined we would. So great conversation. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'd love talking with you. For those who are just joining and didn't hear in the beginning, if you comment #recovered in celebration of Tom's absence, I'm giving away stuff today. Yay! So make sure you comment #recovered. You need that hashtag for it to register. And we're going to do a fun giveaway. And Tom can yell at me if he wants me to go home, but he won't because he knows I'm in charge of this stuff. So.
Lisa, I just want to say thank you to everyone who has been adding their comments in the sidebar. And, even though we haven't responded to that, a lot of my heart goes out because I know there are a lot of people out there that are double winners. That are also not only experiencing physical addiction, but they have had other members in their family that have not only gone down that path of addiction, but died from it. And, I know that I still carry that with me. And, those are things that we just have to realize and accept and know that it was unfortunate and wish it could have been a different way. But that's the way it is. But we can participate in recovery today.
Yeah, I like that. We can participate, and we should encourage others to as well. So
Absolutely.
Thanks, BJ. Yeah, I've been watching the comments over there. Some pretty powerful stuff and good conversations happening in the back there too.
Oh, I didn't get to wear my hat, Lisa.
There you go. Well, let's wear it for the giveaway.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay.
All right, let me bring this over. I'm going to share my screen, and we want the giveaway tool. All right. There we go. We only have 7 entries. Come on, guys. Couple more. I know there was at least like 20 people watching earlier. Only 7 entries. All right. I'm not seeing it tick up, so let's Let's do the draw. I see some good names in there. Mandy, Doc, Jamie, Sonny's back.
That's Mandy Young. Hey, Mandy.
Dale.
Hey, Dale. Well, how many t-shirts do you have, that man?
Dale, I think you should be donating your shirt this time. So I think you might have a stockpile that you can pull from. But if not, let me know. I'll get you what you need and we'll send it down your way. I love it. Well, congratulations, Dale. Anyone else have any parting words before we send off for the day?
Great job, Lisa.
Oh,
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. And,
Very
and nice
appreciate
meeting you, Sue and BJ. I hope
Nice to
we
meet
connect
you.
again.
wonderful.
I
Well,
wish
thank
we
you.
were about a
Good to
couple
meet you.
thousand miles closer.
Yeah, me too.
well, Leesburg, Northern California,
Mm.
commuter retreat. I'm sure we can make some
We'll
travel
to make
arrangements.
something happen.
Get you
You
all together.
betcha. You betcha.
We got everyone up to Jersey last year. So Sue, Robin, Jersey this year, right?
Yeah, we just came back from there not too long ago. We'll go again.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you. Everyone have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us on Recovery Live this week. We will be back next week with special guests from the Phoenix, and it's going to be Tom and Alicia. And the Phoenix is all about fitness and recovery. So you can tell that Tom and Alicia are going to be in their element talking to them. So join us next week for that episode, and we will see you then. Take care. Bye.